What's up, War Room? Welcome back, Joe and Connor. Fresh off recording a podcast, talking a lot of offense, a lot of fields, a lot of receivers. We're going to do mostly defense here, but also answer a few Discord questions that will cover some offensive topics. CR, how we feeling?
Good. This is the War Room is really like the nitty gritty.
The
It's
nitty gritty.
yeah. This is the real ball knowers, as I like to say.
Is there rumblings of another film room coming soon as well? For our
Yeah,
War
I've
Room
actually
friends?
cut a lot of the clips already. This is going to be part 2 of building the offense, and it is going to be entirely based on the play action pass game. So we did the zone read for the first part, which is really just how to balance Fields running and the running backs running, getting two backs on the field, and just getting Fields involved. This will be how to now take the run game and build a play action passing attack off of it. I don't know what part 3 is going to be. Probably just all
The trilogy.
Yeah, it will be a trilogy. It's probably just going to be all passing and some concepts I find Fields is comfortable with, or route progressions that he's comfortable throwing. But yeah, it's interesting to watch. Not only a little bit of what the Commanders did again, but also what the Steelers did, and just getting him under center, and a lot of mentions of Mason Taylor, Garrett Wilson, and just what Fields is comfortable with and what he's good at.
Eat your vegetables in the film room, and hopefully Angstran is subscribed, taking some notes. I want to start with this. My question. This is a defensive question. Week 1, snap 1. Who are the 11 players the Jets are putting out there? And how are they lining up? Is it 4-3? Is it 3-4? Is it a nickel? Who's next to Quinnen? Who's popping in off the bench on second and third down? Sort of reground us in the Jets defensive personnel and how they're going to line up and use everyone. Just run with it. What do you think?
So this is kind of interesting because you have to factor in they're playing the Steelers, right? Like normally if you just asked me and we didn't pick a week, like how would you say the Jets line up? You obviously are going to go thinking base nickel. And you're thinking that, listen, we know the two linebackers that they feel comfortable having on the field on any down, which is the beauty of having both Quincy Williams and Jamie and Sherwood as your linebackers, because they are multi-down linebackers because they play with speed and sideline range, and they can cover where you feel like, okay, those guys can play in any situation. And then, the total wild card, and this is what everybody's thinking, like we feel like in some capacity, Jermaine Johnson's going to be ready to go week 1. He's not the total wild card. His snap count is, but I think Jermaine will push himself to go week 1. They obviously are really excited about the progression of Will McDonald out there. And then Quinnen Williams is out there. Who's next to Quinnen, right? Is kind of is Byron Cowart going to run away with that? Is Derek Nottie going to run away with that? So that's kind of going to be the interesting wild card of who plays next to Quinnen. And then obviously it's easy to say Sauce Gardner, Michael Carter, Brandon Stevens as your 3 corners out there in nickel, a Cisco at safety. I don't know if Tony Adams is going to be the guy. I think they're going to give Malachi Moore chances throughout the summer to really, really push him. I'm interested to see how they kind of, because the reason I go back to the Steelers being such an interesting one is because you can answer the question in a lot of different ways. The Steelers, and we know the Jets played the Steelers last year. Like, you've seen this. They like to play heavy. They like to have 2 or 3 tight ends on the field where you can't just say it's a guarantee they're going to be in base nickel. There's a world where the Jets go out there and say they think Nottie is more of the run-stuffing defensive tackle or getting back to his form from a couple of years ago. They, cover your ears, everyone, but they like Clemens better than McDonald against those heavier sets. Although I would not take one.
A lot of Lazard on the pod, little Clemens and War Room.
Oh, man.
The blood pressure is rising.
I don't like any of this, but it's just, what I think could happen, where you think, okay, Nottie and Q next to each other, Jermaine, Clemens, and McDonald, depending on how heavy the Steelers look. Say you want 3 linebackers out there now. Well, it's Quincy and Sherwood, but what do they see out of the competition between, the rookie Francisco Moingoa and Zaire Barnes?
Jamin Davis.
Jamin Davis, who's probably more of a, kind of this hybrid edge player. And then you're looking more at, I actually, in this scenario, this is interesting. I would play Sauce, obviously, at corner, but I think I would play one of Stevens or Carter at safety rather than keeping Tony Adams on the field against the heavier sets. Because
Tony Adams can't tackle.
Tony Adams can't tackle.
Big problem
and
for safety.
If they're going to run play action out of these heavier sets, I would rather have Michael Carter in coverage on one of the tight ends than Tony Adams.
Yep.
Because this is, say they run, like they love to run those boot plays, the Steelers. Say they're in 12 or 13.
A lot of Freiermuth week 1.
Right.
I feel like he's getting like 11 targets.
Or this goes back to Stevens. But I'm not taking either of them off the field is the point. Either Stevens or Carter is the other corner, and the one that's not a traditional corner is actually going to play in a safety role for Adams along with Cisco. Carter, for as small as he is a tough guy tackler. Like he'll throw his body around. Stevens too. Stevens is a guy he's physical. He's a big guy. Like for his shortcomings in man coverage at times, he's a big physical player that'll tackle. So I answered your question by not answering your question. There are 1,000 different ways this team can come out against the Steelers because on not only the style they play, but the camp competitions. And then it's also like maybe they like Tony Adams like the previous staff did. I just don't value him that way because I kind of look at it and go, well, he's a cover safety. Okay, well, I kind of like Malachi Moore's instincts a little better in that role. So, and then, okay, we're thinking we're stopping the run. We're playing a little heavier on defense to match their heavy personnel on offense. Well, I don't like him on the field in that role. So I'll just take him off the field and keep Stevens, Carter, and Sauce on the field. At the end of the day, and this is going to open up an Azaria Thomas combo down the road, but for now, if Sauce, Stevens, and Carter are 3 of your best 4 DBs, then you actually need to give them safety looks throughout the summer. Because wouldn't you find it borderline ridiculous if the Jets are out there and they actually are in a 4-3 defense instead of base nickel because they're playing against like teams are looking at the Jets and going, let's just play heavy and run right out then. And Rodgers is going to say the same thing to them week 1. He's going to say play heavy against this defense. They can't stop the run. I'd rather have those 3 guys on the field in some capacity than just forcing a safety out on the field. So it's going to be on this staff in camp to really test these guys in areas they're not comfortable with. That's going to be Sauce traveling. Carter played safety in college as well as nickel, so as well as corner. So he's fine. He's so mentally sharp, he can actually handle it. But Stevens is a weird one because we almost like him better at safety at times where I'm curious.
The narrative continues.
Maybe this allows them to be interchangeable and unpredictable. So I have high expectations for Glennon Wilkes, what he puts on these guys' plates and how they challenge teams and how they stay unpredictable, even with some limitations at certain personnel spots.
I will say our guy Zach's been shouting out Rashad Weaver up front. He's been having a good
lot
spring.
Of Rashad Weaver talk.
Maybe he takes some of those Clemens reps. Hopefully Leonard Taylor's in the mix on 3rd down.
Right.
They have Jay Telefe. He'll be rotating in. I'm just looking for ways not to play Clemens, as you can tell. So come on, Rashad Weaver. We're pulling for you. And then I really hope in most situations, Sauce is on DK Metcalf. Let Calvin Austin beat you. And we know Freiermuth's going to get his targets, and hopefully, as you just said, the Jets have a plan for that. But don't lose this game because you have Brandon Stevens, getting beat in the jump ball by DK Metcalf. And Rodgers, with how he plays, he wants to throw the ball to DK Metcalf 1,000 times in this game. Back shoulder, 9 route, over and over and over. He's going to treat him like he treated Devontae with how the rest of that receiver room works. So how about an interception, Sauce, and follow him around? And could be interesting, especially that defensive line rotation. And we'll see if one of these guys is kind of a grab back at this point, couldn't punch in, or if they add another edge, because the third pure edge conversation remains a bit scary right now on the defensive side of the ball. All right. Andy asked this one. Chief of the Discord, guarding it, banning people when they need to be banned, although we haven't had any bans lately, which has been nice.
Everyone's been well behaved.
Maybe some Potter War Room fodder. Could you go over how the Jets have arguably the worst production in the NFL at tight end since Mickey Schuler last played for them, especially since Dustin Keller's prime, and how more involved tight ends now can improve offenses and how Mason Taylor could potentially solve this problem? So the Jets have just been meh at tight end. There was a 5-game stretch at the start of 2010 where Dustin Keller looked like the best tight end in the NFL, and he was just never the same since then. And then we've sort of been on this weird winding Jeff Cumberland, Kellen Davis, kind of playing Quincy Enunwa as like an H-back between receiver and tight end. Rucker, Tyler Croft. The names go on.
Austin Safarian Jenkins.
Austin Safarian Jenkins come back until he had the touchdown call back. He was never really the same after that. It hasn't been pretty. I think is generally what we're getting to from a productivity standpoint. Conklin was pretty good by Jets history standards, but I don't know. It just never felt like he really fully 100% hit his stride here, and that might not fully be his fault. With Taylor, I just think opportunity-wise, he's just going to be out there a lot and get a lot of chances. We've already heard Glenn raving about his blocking. Fields has shown a degree of comfort throwing to the tight end, both at the collegiate and at the professional level. I think a little bit of the stuff he did with Cole Kmet, who's not too big of a stretch to say that Taylor could be a very similar player. I know that's something Max alluded to when he was looking at Taylor that much more closely. So I just think when you get past Garrett and you get past Brees, it just feels like Mason Taylor will be queued up for 5 to 7 targets every week, and manufactured targets where it's an easy catch on a boot. It's a screen. He's just involved in the game pretty consistently. And I don't think he's going to, catch a 4-yard pass and rip off a 40-yard run. I just feel like he's going to reliably catch everything thrown his way. He's going to be a good enough blocker to be out there all 3 downs and could just kind of stitch together this, and he'll have a better, longer career. This Chris Herndon-esque rookie year where he has 40 to 50 catches, 400 to 550 yards, and 4 or 5 touchdowns. And we're going to leave feeling pretty good. And I think he'll only get better. He's a young player. It's not like he's a 24-year-old rookie. And he's not going to have, I think, some of the other issues that were going on with Herndon at the time. So I think you should feel good as a Jets fan about the value and where they got him. I don't think this is a guy who's going to be a first-team All-Pro. But I think, is this a guy who could be the 8th to 12th best tight end in the league for a while after he gets through some of his early learning curves? I think that can be the case. And I think especially in this iteration of the offense, I would put him 3rd on the team in targets. I don't know who jumps ahead of him in that spot.
I mean, right, just Josh Reynolds has a chance if he's healthy and out there.
Josh Reynolds week on Badlands, baby.
It's insane how much Josh Reynolds talk. I have the ultimate trivia question for you. Jets tight ends of the last 10 years. Production-wise, at a receiving yards, number 1 is very obvious. It's Tyler Conklin. Just by volume default, he's played the most games with 50. You said the second one, which is Chris Herndon, by the way.
Had a huge year, rookie year. 1 year, that was it.
Yeah, he had 796 receiving yards throughout this last 10-year stretch. That was his Jets career. Who's number 3?
Last 10 years, so that's 2015 on. So we missed Cumberland, I think, then, because he wasn't the tight end in the 2015.
I'll give you a hint. Herndon was at 796 yards during that stretch. This player is a little below 700. It's not a great hint, but it's at least in the ballpark.
Goddamn. Who?
It's really hard. I'm shocked by this.
Is it Safarian Jenkins?
He's 4th.
Oh, God.
Safarian Jenkins is 4th with only 467. 3rd is Ryan Griffin.
Come on. Wow, that is a great
that?
deep. I literally forgot he was a human being. No
Same.
offense, Ryan Griffin.
Ryan Griffin.
He was like Darnold's top target for a 5-week stretch in that 2019 year, though, right?
Yes.
Had
Ryan
a big
Griffin
game against Dallas.
Only played 8 less games during that stretch than Conklin. He played 42. He had 70 catches on 95 targets for 667 yards and 7 touchdowns. He had 5 of those touchdowns in one season.
Perfect Jets drought player, Ryan Griffin. It's a great trivia question.
That alone tells you how problematic it is. Because you think across the league, the Jets just haven't had a tight end besides Conklin. That's what it tells you. They literally
This is why we get into these tight end conversations every year around the draft with Bowers and then with Tyler Warren this year. And look, it ended up getting resolved in a high round. I just continue to believe you cannot compete credibly in today's NFL if you don't have a viable option at tight end. And you don't have to have prime Travis Kelce or Ron Gronkowski, but you need a Dallas Goedert type player. And could Taylor eventually be that one day? Maybe that's the real high end, but Dallas Goedert's really good. You need a good tight end. The Bills have 2 dynamic tight ends who are involved in the passing game. I just feel like every serious competitive team, the Lions with Laporta, the Niners with Kittle, it's just you don't see teams win and thrive without it. The Ravens with both Oliver and Andrews, and I know Andrews had to drop, but he's still been really damn good. You just can't sit it out, and the Jets have just sat it out for so long.
No, not in this era. This is the thing that Max is really into, and he runs